Welcome to the Pardesh channel. Today we explain Prophet Samuel chapter 20 in a clear and simple way, step by step.
Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to look at the context and how a brand new rebellion kicks off, followed by a tense pursuit and a shocking betrayal. Then we'll cover the massive siege of Abel Beth Maacah, the rescue by a wise woman, the restored administration, and finally, we'll wrap up with some key ideas and practical life lessons. Let's jump right in.
Section 1. Context and the rebellion begins.
Okay, we're starting right at verse 1. King David has literally just survived an absolutely massive crisis, the revolt led by his own son, Absalom. The nation is completely raw, and the kingdom, well, it's incredibly fragile. You know how it is when tensions are that high? It only takes a tiny spark to ignite a whole new fire. And that spark comes in the form of a troublemaker named Sheba. He's a Benjamite. Now, that's a huge deal because the Benjamites were the tribe of the previous ruler, King Saul, so there is some serious lingering tribal tension there. Out of nowhere, Sheba sounds the shofar, the ram's horn, which is a literal call to war. He shouts out this totally defiant statement: "We have no share in David, no part in Jesse's son. Every man to his tent, O Israel." He is openly, blatantly rejecting King David's authority, demanding that the northern tribes just pack up, abandon the king, and go home. He's calling for a massive, immediate division of the entire kingdom.
And the crazy thing? Sheba's dangerous words actually work. In verse 2, the immediate geographic and political fracture of the nation is laid bare for us. We see this really stark contrast. All the men of Israel literally desert David on the spot to follow this new rebel, Sheba. They abandon the king exactly when he is trying to reunify the nation. But on the flip side, the men of Judah remain fiercely, stubbornly loyal. They act as the king's personal guard, sticking by David's side and escorting him all the way from the crossing of the Jordan River right back to his capital in Jerusalem. In an instant, it's like a giant earthquake just ripped the nation in two, and David is staring down the barrel of another civil war before the dust of the last one has even settled.
But before he can even deal with this new rebel army, Verse 3 shows David returning to his palace in Jerusalem to handle a lingering, deeply personal household issue. See, during the previous rebellion, David had to flee the city, and he left 10 of his concubines behind to care for the palace. Because they have been defiled by his rebellious son Absalom in his absence, David simply cannot treat them as his active wives anymore. So he takes these 10 concubines and places them in a secure house under guard. He provides for them financially, makes sure they are completely cared for, but he does not lie with them. They're kept in strict confinement, effectively living as widows until the day they die. It's a really somber, heavy detail to read, but it shows David firmly restoring order and taking hard responsibility for his own house before he looks outward to handle the national rebellion.
Section 2. The pursuit and betrayal.
So, now that Jerusalem is physically secure, the military logistics of hunting down this rebel, Sheba, have to begin, and King David is up against a ticking clock. In verses 4 through 6, David turns to a man named Amasa. David actually just recently appointed him as the commander of the army, replacing the fierce, unpredictable Joab. David gives Amasa a direct order: summon the entire army of Judah within exactly 3 days and report back. But day 3 comes and goes. Amasa misses the deadline. We don't exactly know why he delays, but time is an absolute luxury David does not have right now. David realizes that Sheba is going to do them way more harm than the previous rebellion ever did if he's allowed to find fortified cities to hide out in. So David urgently bypasses the delayed Amasa and orders Abishai, who happens to be Joab's brother, to take the king's men and pursue Sheba right this second, before he can build up a fortress of defense.
So who exactly gets sent out on this ultra-urgent mission? Verse 7 breaks down the rapid deployment. Joab's men, along with the Kerethites and Pelethites and all the mighty warriors, march straight out of Jerusalem. Now the Kerethites and Pelethites, these are David's elite, intensely loyal mercenary bodyguards. This isn't just some regular civilian militia being sent out to chase a fugitive. No way. David is deploying his absolute best, his most highly trained, battle-hardened strike force, to neutralize the threat of Sheba before it can spread like wildfire. They are moving fast, and they absolutely mean business.
But here is where the story takes a super dark, shocking internal turn. In verses 8 through 10, Abishai and Joab's elite forces reach the Great Rock in Gibeon. And who should suddenly show up to meet them? Amasa, the delayed commander. Well, Joab is absolutely furious at having been replaced by Amasa, and he sees his perfect opportunity. Joab is wearing his military tunic, and strapped right to his waist is a dagger in its sheath. As Joab steps forward to greet his rival, he purposefully, and this is a completely calculated move, lets the dagger drop out of the sheath onto the ground. He asks Amasa, "How are you, my brother?" and reaches out, taking Amasa by the beard with his right hand as if to give him a traditional kiss of greeting. Because the dagger had dropped, Amasa completely lets his guard down. He thinks Joab is totally unarmed. In a flash, Joab picks that dagger right back up with his left hand and ruthlessly plunges it into Amasa's belly, spilling his intestines on the ground. He kills him instantly in a single devastating strike. Joab brutally eliminates his political rival, steps right over the dead body, and seamlessly just resumes the pursuit of Sheba.
Now, you might be wondering, how on earth does the arriving army react to this sudden, high-profile assassination right in front of them? Verses 11 through 13 answer this with a really chilling psychological scene. One of Joab's loyal men stands right by Amasa's bleeding body and starts shouting out propaganda to the arriving troops. Whoever favors Joab and whoever is for David, let him follow Joab. But there's a massive glaring problem. Amasa is lying directly in the middle of the highway, wallowing in his own blood. Imagine marching down the road and seeing that. Every single soldier that marches up to the body absolutely freezes. The horrific sight of their murdered commander brings the entire pursuing army to a complete dead standstill. They literally cannot look past the brutality. Seeing this huge delay happening, Joab's man drags Amasa's body completely off the road, pulls him into a nearby field, and throws a heavy garment right over him. Out of sight, out of mind. And only once the body is completely hidden from view do the shocked troops finally start moving again to follow Joab.
Section 3. Siege of Abel Beth Maacah.
With the army back on the move and under Joab's absolute, unquestioned command, we reach the climax of the pursuit in verses 14 and 15. The rebel Sheba has passed through all the northern tribes of Israel and taken refuge way up in the north in a place called Abel Beth Maacah. This is a massive, highly fortified ancient city. Joab and his troops arrive, and they completely surround the place. And if we know anything about Joab by now, it's that he doesn't hold back, he goes straight to the extreme. His soldiers build a massive earthwork siege ramp, literally a towering hill of dirt pushed right up against the outer fortifications of the city. Once that ramp is built, all the troops with Joab begin furiously battering the wall to bring the whole thing down. The entire city is violently shaking, pushed to the absolute brink of total destruction, all just to get to this one single rebel hiding inside.
Section 4. The Wise Woman's Rescue.
Over the deafening, terrifying chaos of those military battering rams, verses 16 through 19 tell us about an unexpected interruption. A wise woman calls out over the walls from inside the city. She bravely demands to speak directly to the commanding general, Joab. When Joab finally walks up to the wall, she confronts him with a really profound question. She says, "You are trying to destroy a city that is a mother in Israel. Why do you want to swallow up the Lord's inheritance?" She's reminding him that Abel Beth Maacah isn't just some random town. It has a long, proud reputation for being a peaceful, faithful place, a place people travel to just to ask for wise counsel. She is demanding to know why the royal army of Israel is trying to wipe a loyal, deeply rooted Israelite stronghold completely off the map without even attempting to have a conversation first.
Verses 20 and 21 reveal a really fascinating clash of methods here. Joab's initial go-to approach was pure violence, collateral damage, and just overwhelming blunt force. But the wise woman? She brings diplomatic negotiation and targeted justice right to the table. Hearing her passionate, logical plea, Joab gets defensive immediately. He says, "Far be it from me to swallow up or destroy." That is not the case. He explains that he actually has no desire to level the city. He literally only wants the rebel Sheba, son of Bichri, who lifted his hand against King David. So Joab offers his terms. If the city just hands over this one single man, Joab promises to withdraw the entire army immediately. The wise woman doesn't even blink. She agrees to the terms right then and there, looking at Joab and promising, "His head will be thrown to you from the wall."
And she absolutely delivers on that promise. Verse 22 tells us she goes to all the people of the city with her wise advice. Now, we aren't given the exact transcript of her conversation, but she clearly convinces the citizens that saving their entire city requires cutting out the rebel in their midst. So, the citizens swiftly cut off the head of the rebel Sheba, and they throw it right over the wall, straight down to Joab. True to his word, Joab sounds the shofar. The siege is immediately lifted. The troops completely disperse from the city, every man heading back to his own home, and Joab heads back to the king in Jerusalem. A single act of targeted and, yes, admittedly gruesome justice saves thousands of innocent lives from being completely crushed under those siege ramps.
Section 5.
Restored administration.
The dust finally settles. In verses 23 through 26, the rebellion is fully, 100% crushed, and we get to see the aftermath. King David's restored, stable cabinet. Order has actually returned to the kingdom. We get this great list of the key officials. Joab, despite his totally ruthless and treacherous murder of Amasa, has somehow solidified his power and remains firmly in charge of Israel's entire army. Benaiah commands the Zelite Kerethites and Pelethites. Adoniram is put in charge of the forced labor. Jehoshaphat acts as the recorder, managing the history and the documents. Sheba serves as the state secretary, and Zadok, Abiathar, and Ira the Jairite serve as the high priests. After back-to-back, exhausting civil wars, the government is finally functioning again. It's structured, it's staffed, and it is secure.
Section 6. Key Ideas and Life Lessons.
Now let's step back from the history for just a second. What can we actually distill from the factual meaning of this explainer to apply as practical wisdom in our own lives? Well, we can draw 3 really powerful steps for self-improvement. Step 1. Seek peaceful resolution through communication. Just like that wise woman who literally stopped a battering ram simply by raising her voice to speak, we should always try dialogue and reason before resorting to conflict. Step 2. Address the root problem, not the bystanders. Remember, Joab was ready to destroy a whole city for one guy. In our own lives, we need to focus our energy on resolving the actual source of a problem without hurting the innocent people who just happen to be standing around it. And step 3. Beware of unchecked personal ambition. Joab's murder of Amasa perfectly illustrates how toxic jealousy and the desire for power can become if we let our guard down and fail to check our own motives.
Let's do a quick recap of this incredible narrative. The chapter opens with Sheba fracturing the fragile kingdom with a single blast of the horn. David's forces mobilize under immense time pressure, which leads to Joab's dark internal betrayal and the brutal murder of his rival Amasa. The army corners the rebel in a heavily fortified northern city, building these massive siege ramps. But total destruction is miraculously averted because a single, unnamed wise negotiator steps up to speak, resulting in the rebels' demise and the saving of the entire city. Ultimately, King David's administration is firmly, if a little bloodily, restored to order.
So the crucial point to take away from all of this is right here. When you are faced with intense conflict in your own life, will you blindly choose the destructive path of the sword, or will you choose the focused, saving wisdom of words? Thank you for learning with us. If this helped you understand the chapter better, like, subscribe, and join us for the next chapter.